Hello, and welcome to my third cup of tea, brought to you from one of the most photogenic places I have been to, Queenstown in New Zealand. Honestly, the dramatic mountains are draped with pure white snow and just looking so divine. I have come here for 10 days with 3 girlfriends, and as we left the plane, we were cautioned to hold the handrail while going down the stairs, and I could kind of understand why, because one could easily get caught up in the amazing views and take a tumble. However, we safely checked into our little hotel close to the beautiful lake with incredible reflections, and I had lined up to meet with the fabulous Katherine Leamy, who is a big fan of travelling light to travel right. In 2017, she ventured on a solo 4-week adventure to Croatia and Italy, with just over 5 kilos in a carry-on day bag, and a ton of determination. She hasn't slowed down since then, and seeing as I was going to be in the country, wanted to hear more. Let's see what she has to share with us. Do kindly note that this was done in a common room with a moody fridge and roadworks on the road directly outside. So bear with me and let's go for it. All right, Catherine, thank you so much for joining me here in beautiful Queenstown.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I'm so excited to be here. I landed just this morning and flying in was incredible. The mountains are just insanely gorgeous and the lake is so beautiful.
Oh, as a Kiwi, it's still probably one of the most beautiful parts of New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I've come to the right spot for my first trip to New Zealand.
Definitely.
Well, so here I am to talk to you about traveling, which is something I love, you and I both.
Yep.
So where was the last trip that you took?
Just recently I was in Canada, Slovenia, and the UK, and Switzerland, and Singapore on the way home. So, it was a bit of a whirlwind trip. But the main reason I went was I went to Slovenia for 9 days hiking on a multi-day hike, and then in the UK I went to catch up with friends and family, and then I went to festival, which is a motivational festival. Yeah.
Yestival. So that's quite an interesting thing to hear. So what's Yestival all about?
Yestival is a motivational festival. Sort of the UK has a lot of kind of boutique festivals, and this one was in Lincolnshire, and it was a lot of people just talking about general things like running across the Nullarbor and just things that people have done to kind of get everyone on board and doing well, but making the most of it.
And saying yes to various things?
Yeah, their hashtag is say yes. They have definitely.
And was this something that you presented it, or you were just...
Yeah, I presented my book, Daring to Travel Solo, and it's really this about daring to do something different, daring to extend yourself, challenge yourself, be courageous, do something different. So, yeah. So it was, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you wrote a book about this, didn't you?
Yes. So my book is Dare to Travel Solo, and it's about my 1-month trip in Croatia and Italy, where back in 2017 I travelled with a 5 kilo bag, which is 11 pounds, and then also so I was by myself and with this light bag, and really the book is about the journey that I went on from planning the trip and how I did it. And it's not really a how-to book, it's more how I grew, I guess, in that journey, in that 1 month, being by myself, travelling and travelling with just a very minimal amount of gear.
A lot of research went into this trip, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And you had intended to be going with a friend, right?
Yes. So my friend was coming, and then she pulled out, and I felt that I'd invested too much time and thought into this trip. So I decided that I wanted to still go. So discussed it with the family and said, "What do you reckon?" And they thought, "Yeah, let's do it. Well, let me do it."
So, with your friend bailing on the trip, do you think that it was kind of the best letdown to have ever happened to you?
It was actually. In fact, a friend of mine in the book, it says this could be the best thing Katherine has ever done. And I think actually, I think it was actually. I think it's been a real kickstart to lots of things, lots of new challenges. And, it's like, excuse me, it's now 7 years ago. And am still getting kind of repercussions, or I mean, here I am talking to you, and it's all because of that trip. So whereas most holidays or adventures you go on, you go and have a holiday, whatever, and you kind of forget about it. But this trip just keeps repeating. It's great. It keeps popping up. And, yeah.
Well, one of the things I loved that you wrote was, I love spontaneity as long as it's carefully planned. I do appreciate that one because I have been known as, I sort of tag along with other people's trips. So I'm traveling with 3 girlfriends. They were interested, and so they hit me up. And I thought, I haven't been to New Zealand before. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then she's also thinking about going to Perth next year. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that, going into the research and wondering what's going to be happening and planning some different activities for us. That's something that makes you more comfortable to do these sorts of trips.
Yes, I called myself the queen of spreadsheets, because I think when you're traveling by yourself, it's kind of a reassuring thing and a safety thing that you know where you're going, that your accommodation is booked and things like that. I mean, I was a newbie traveling solo. People who've traveled solo before, or, since, are much more confident, and they will book their one-way flight somewhere and then just wing it from there. And that's how they work. And they may have done that from day one, but that wasn't how I was going to fly. And for me, also, I needed to know that my family knew where I was. And at any time, literally, they could pretty much map where I would be. Of course, with phones, they could track me, or I was on Facebook and social media. So there's kind of no way of going. It's not like the old days when I travelled in the 80s and 90s, where you literally needed Interpol to try and find you. Your parents had no idea. They go, "Oh, I thought you were in Mali or somewhere." And, "Oh, no, I went to South Africa instead."
My mother would have an appreciation if I did have a spreadsheet like this. I did let her know when I landed, so at least I've got that sorted.
Yeah. I think the spreadsheet started because with my friend, we were looking at what we wanted to do in places. So, I'd like to do, if we go to Croatia, I'd like to go to the island of, there's a little island off Dubrovnik. And so we're having to sort of put things in that we both wanted to do. And maybe if I was by myself, I wouldn't have done that. And certainly this more recent trip, I kind of just winged it. I flew into like Quebec, and I really hadn't looked into what there was to do in Quebec. But I figured I land there mid-afternoon. I'll figure it out. And all you have to do is put top 10 things to do in Quebec.
And the internet will tell you where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So another thing was, you were saying to have that confidence to maybe have a meal by yourself. That was something very new for you, but now it's not a problem at all?
I'm still, I'm much, much better. I mean, just the other day I was in Queenstown and I stopped in at a Japanese restaurant, and of course I've been to Japan last year, so it was really cool to get to an authentic Japanese restaurant and be able to order things knowing what I was going to get, and can I have some miso, and can I have seaweed salad and things like that. And I was oblivious to what everyone else was doing around me. And they sat me at the bar, which is often where they stick single solo eaters. Sometimes they stick you at the worst little table and it was entertaining. They were doing behind the bar, and I could see the chef. Yeah, so sort of you learn tricks. That was my first stop, and I was petrified. And I had this feeling that people would look at me and go, "Oh, look at that poor person, she's eating by herself." And then now I look at people and I go, "Oh my God, there's a couple there and they're sitting in silence and they haven't spoken for the whole meal." Like,
Yeah. Well, what were the sort of things, the bits of advice that you had to prepare you for this first occasion of eating by yourself at a restaurant?
So people gave me lots of advice on Instagram. Or, as you know, it was more when I found it, because it wasn't much around. I didn't have my, the 5 kilo traveller on social media. So it was really just asking people that I knew that had travelled solo what they'd done. And I think I must have read an article, and it said, don't stay on your phone because that looks like you're not interested. And a book can be a good idea, but that can also put people off as well because you're engrossed in a book. And of course, I wasn't carrying a book because a book's 400 grams. There's no way I'm carrying a book on my trip. So in the end, I studied the menu. And the other one is if someone, when the waiter comes up, talk in a big loud voice so that anyone around can hear that you've got a different accent. And it works. I couldn't believe it. On that first dinner, this couple came over and said, we're trying to decide whether you're from Australia or New Zealand. And I said, New Zealand. And ended up chatting to them and then bumping into them around town. And it was just those kind of sort of, meeting people in those kind of situations. It was great. So
I remember I had gone to Hanoi in Vietnam to visit my brother and his family, and I tagged along to a last minute cruise in Ha Long Bay.
Oh yeah.
And it was this really it was like a 5-star cruise. And so each various couples and families and whatnot had their own tables. And so I had my own table as well.
Yeah.
And so for the first night, I did just take my book along. It's just what I needed because I had been traveling a lot and amongst people, and I just kind of was happy to have my own space. So I took my book to the table and I had a lovely evening. But then the next night, this beautiful French couple and a German couple, they invited me to join them. And then we became good friends and then had a really good time. Yeah. So yes, I do appreciate that people do make that effort to engage with you when you are by yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's up to you whether you have that initial discussion and then think, hey, it was nice to talk to you. Have a great evening. Wish you well. Yeah. Or whether anything will continue on from that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, one of the first meals I had in Dubrovnik, the guy where I was staying in the Airbnb, he said, there's a good place, a pizza bar. It's a really good place to go and chat with people. And I went, okay. So we went down and everyone was on their phone. And I tried sort of going, hi, where are you guys from? Because it was sort of shared tables. And they were just like, the body language was, we're busy on our phones. And so then I sort of thought, I'm thinking, what should I do? So I ended up sitting at the bar talking to the barman, and the pizza guy. And then another guy came and chatted to me because he was by himself too. But, it was quite, it's quite interesting how phones have changed travel.
Very much so. For the better and for the worse, yes, because even you were travelling much younger as well, where you were still using maps and sending aerograms.
Yeah. Someone said to me a while ago, there's this TV program coming and they're going to be travelling with no phones and no credit cards. And I went, yeah, that sounds like the 90s and before.
It is possible. Well, another thing that I enjoyed hearing about from you was, so one thing, I do tend to leave things behind. I lose things very well. Yeah. When I go home to visit mum and dad, my daddy has this basket in the front room and everything that I take off, I have to put in the basket because he used to have to go around the house and pick up everything to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. So I just leave a basket. Yeah. So another thing that I do is I just have this little IKEA box and it has a little zip at the bottom and you can fold it up. And so I take that with me and then I put like a watch or some rings or keys and a passport and that's just one location to keep them. What's something like that you have?
Well, I mean, sometimes I usually just make it up on the spot, and it's often just a tissue or something like that I'll lay all my, like if I'm wearing rings. I mean, I don't generally wear jewellery except in New Zealand, so I'll put my jewellery on that or my phone but it's things like my charger. So I've had a high-vis thing on my charger, but, I still leave my charger at mum's and things like that. So, but generally when I'm travelling, I generally don't leave things behind. I did leave something behind. Earplugs. I left my earplugs in Montreal hostel. They were really good earplugs. I was gutted.
Oh no, and especially for a hostel, they are very important to have.
I know. But this, it was. I didn't need them. I think I'd take them out all night. But I needed them further on in my travels. So.
So you'll have to invest in another pair.
Well, I ended up I couldn't find any that I really sort of looked like what I wanted. So I just I didn't get too many issues after that. So, yeah.
Do you still travel very lightly?
I do. Well, my last trip to this last one to Europe was probably just over 7 kilos. But 7 kilos, as much as it's still light and it's still carry on, it's not what I want to be carrying. It's not about a challenge. Well, it is a challenge, but it's not about doing 5 kilos. Isn't like I have to be 5 kilos. It's got to be what I want to carry. It's what I'm comfortable carrying. And if 7 kilos, it's another 2 kilos. And it just gets, when you're walking a bit further, walking up steps, it's just that much more heavier. And so if I can stick with under 6, it's better. But of course, going to Europe, I had 2 books, both to give away, and I had my little tablet kind of thing, charger. I mean, that alone was a kilo. So yeah, it's but I've got my clothes down to the lightest things.
Could you please share with us?
So it's pretty much, I mean, it changes every trip. But like, first of all, the one thing is that when you're traveling and you're flying, you wear your heaviest clothes on the plane. So
100%.
Coming to Queenstown, which is the middle of winter in New Zealand, I was wearing jeans, my Merino leggings, thick socks, probably 3 or 4 layers of Merino on top, a puffer jacket. And so that's, really, and my hiking boots. So that was pretty much everything. And then in my bag, I had my underwear, a small toilet bag, and I did bring a hairdryer and my hair straighteners. And because it's funny what people's priorities are. Bring an extra pair of shoes. I figured that I could wing it under a table. These shoes, yeah. And it's a fabric that's warm when you're cold, and it's cooling when you're hot. So it's really effective. In Western Australia and New Zealand, lots of places. It's freezing. It's really wet. And so you layer those up. It also means that if you wear it at night, so just hang it up, and it doesn't smell. Sort of, it's odor resisting. Fantastic. And you can wear it 3 or 4 or 5 days and
yeah, in my family, icebreaker. We started off with a lot of their stuff. So yes, it's very light, very breathable, and you can wear it for a few days and it's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Well, even for me, I still like to have a carry-on, just out of preference, not waiting for the bag to come through.
Yeah.
Then there is that nervousness of the different allowances that different flights have. Sometimes 7 kilograms, sometimes 10. But then, yes, just wondering how much you do need. I guess it is, as I say, preferences.
Yeah, and it is a bit of practicing. It is, and it's also about thinking, if I don't have it, I need to buy it when I get it. One of the tricks I have is that I do carry a little, it's a little packable bag, a little tiny, folds up to nothing. It's a little rucksack kind of thing. And when I came back, big bag, and I have 3 kilos in this little bag that I use as my personal item, and sort of shoved the heavy things in there, and you just pray like hell that they don't go in, because that was probably 3 kilos.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I had a little one. It was probably a Kathmandu or something, but then it was falling apart. So I've had to discard that one, but I definitely would like another one because it comes in handy so much.
It does. I mean, even if you go shopping or anything like that, it's just so handy. Yeah.
Well, also, while you were in the UK, you met with a good friend of ours, Sue-Ann Main,
Yes.
the founder and host of Sister Stay, the platform, which it's celebrating women in their 50s who are traveling by themselves. And it's a bit of an Airbnb solely for women who want to be more comfortable and finding new friends overseas. So have you made use of this platform yourself?
So I haven't made use of it myself, but I've definitely connected. I just wasn't in the situation that I had a place for Sue-Ann to use or to put onto the website. And I just needed to sort of bide my time. But I haven't just been into the UK, and because she's got places in other parts of the world as well, website. But actually, when you're paying quite big money to stay in like London and Edinburgh, there are sister stay places that you pay, I can't remember, it's £36 a night, I think. So it's very reasonable. And you're actually staying with locals and getting a real local experience, like what B&Bs used to be like. But I also, we probably connected around sort of the COVID pandemic era. And for me, Sue-Ann was a real guiding light for someone who's doing something that's a passion and not necessarily doing things the way people say we should be doing things. And I think as we're getting older, we're shrugging off this whole you should do this. We're kind of going, actually, I want to do it my way, or I want to do it this way. And it might not be the 100% best business practices, but actually it's authentic for us and it's what we want to do. So she's been a real guiding light when it comes to that. Yeah.
And it's a good way, it's a good community to get these sorts of ideas from people if you're looking to research and do the travel, where to go, what to do.
Exactly. On her Instagram, Sister Stay, she's just always sort of showing people who've got like local festivals or local art that's, art things or different things that are going on in people's communities. And if I was over there, I'd be like, I think I might go and stay. That looks cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, then what is it that took you to Slovenia in particular?
So Slovenia was, I wanted to do, so last year I did a hike with some people. It was just for a company in Melbourne called Raw Travel, RAW. And they organised this trip, and I went as a solo traveller. And it ended up that there were four of us were solo travellers. And solo, some were married, some were single. And, so it was kind of a good mix. And I decided then that for me, travel, I wanted to see the world through nature and through amazing scenery, and I wasn't really into cities, and Japan was incredible. I did the Kimono Kodo, which was 7 days, and then Nakasendo Way, which was another 7-day trip, and it was just, the people on both trips were just amazing, and it was just, I just loved it, basically walking with very like-minded people, people who wanted to explore the world, and it was just fantastic. So then I decided I wanted to go to Slovenia, and two of the girls from Japan came with me. So it was really cool. So we did a hike in the Julian Alps, and that was incredible. Just stunning, a beautiful scenery, beautiful countryside, great locals, great food. It was incredible.
So is that the way that you're inclined to go travelling, by something that does spark you through nature?
Definitely. I think I just, after Slovenia, I went to Switzerland for a week and stayed in Grindelwald, and it was just jaw-dropping. It was, and I was there for a week, which I was really enjoyed being in one place for a week. It was just, the scenery was incredible. I remember the first day I was there, it was really cloudy and foggy, and you couldn't really see anything. And the next afternoon, it was just like, holy hell, there's like mountains are right there. I mean, we're surrounded by mountains here, but the mountains are so much closer there. Like they're literally, you're craning your neck to see the top. It was just incredible.
Well, how do you find it when you come back after these amazing trips? How do you find to settle back in? Do people have the interest and appetite for it as much as you do?
Well, I love coming home. I love coming home, love seeing the family and everything like that. Not a lot of people, a lot of my friends have done a lot of travel. There are people who don't want to know about it. But that's okay. That's not their thing. But also they've seen me on Facebook or Instagram, and they've seen the places I've been, and often they're just happy saying, "Hey, your trip looked amazing." And you go, "Yeah, it was cool." Yeah, and that's enough. They've sort of seen, and then other people will say, "What was your favourite meal while you were away?" Or, what was the best accommodation, or what was the most memorable thing? So, yeah.
I believe one of your favourite things from Italy was the lemon gelato. Did you end up learning how to make it?
No, I never ended up making it. I was going to, didn't I? I think I might have tried, but it was never as good. So I just go around tasting it whenever I see it. It's or mango. I quite like the mango gelato as well. So that's sort of toy between the two. So, yeah, but I live around the corner from this place in Hamilton called Duck Island. It's famous in New Zealand. It's ice cream, and they've got a lemon sorbet, which is pretty good.
Well, look, if it's just around the corner, then there's no need to go learning yourself.
Exactly.
Support the local business. So is this something that you anticipate to keep doing for the foreseeable future?
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just... Yeah, as much as I love being home, and I've got a great home life, I do also really love seeing the world and meeting people from different cultures and different architecture, different scenery, and also just being a bit challenged by it, and sort of, yeah. So,
but do you feel like, in a way, since that first trip to Croatia, that it has transformed you in a way?
Definitely. This probably sounds a bit yes, but I talk about how a stone gets thrown in the pond, and there's all the ripples. And that trip to Croatia and Italy 7 years ago is still having the ripples. I mean, here I am talking to you. So it seriously has had the most amazing impact. I don't think any other holiday or adventure I've had has had such a big impact on my life. But it kind of made me stronger. I think that was about the whole thing about traveling solo. It made me listen to my gut. It made me listen if I was in a situation where, turning up at the Airbnb and the guy says, "Do you want a drink?" It's this alcoholic drink in Croatia. And I don't drink. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I better be polite. They're going, "Oh my God." And it tasted it. It was like fire. And, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, I think I'm safe. Here I am going, like in a place where there's a man in the house, and I'm like a complete stranger, and now I'm drinking alcohol. but I think I really got to trust my gut. There were a couple of times, like even when I was in London, I was about to walk down, and I went, I think I'm going to walk down there. And you turn back, or you just get a sense of, whereas before I think I just would have barged through. I don't know. I think I do understand my intuition, but this really, I think, fired it up. And I think since then I've been just following my gut a lot more, instead of ignoring it. And, when the universe is, knocking you on the shoulder going, "Oi." And you go, no, I've got this.
But you also know how to put your foot down when you need to, right?
Yeah.
Such as losing a card in an ATM.
Oh my God. Exactly.
I remember the first time I had gone to Europe, I was in Paris and the ATM had taken my card and I was just fuming. So I remember storming back to my hostel. My travel mate was just in the bunk just waiting for me to come back, but I just walked right on in, got another card, walked right out, went and took care of it. And then I explained it when I got back, but I could probably be a little bit, that was way back when I first started traveling. So now it's a lot more calm, there's always another way.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of made me realise, don't go to an ATM after hours or, when the bank's about to close. But also my reaction to that was a lot calmer than because that was at the end of the trip. than if I'd been, at the start of the trip. I would have probably had a bit of a meltdown.
So you go forward a lot more confidently now.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think you realise that if you just slow down and stop and take a breath and go, right, what shall I do here? And this goes for anything. If you are lost, just zip into a doorway or a shop, get out your phone, have a look. Pausing is actually just a really good reset to go, hang on, what am I doing? Am I going the right way? Or do I need to, or you say to someone, can I just think about that for a moment, please, before you reply? So yeah.
I really do appreciate that, because even for myself, that's something that I've noticed. Especially if something really does rile me up, then maybe I'll just go for a walk or a run or do something, and then you can think about it. Don't react straight away.
Exactly.
Yes, that's definitely a lesson learned from the travels, I think.
Yeah.
Because even if you do miss a train, the first time I landed at Heathrow Airport, and one of my brothers, he met me there and picked me up. We went to get the train and we missed it just by that much. If you caught a train in Sydney, you'd be waiting another hour and a half. I was like, oh. But then he just laughed at me, and 2 minutes later, there was another train.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do appreciate that. Just stop and have a think it through, take a breath, and then make a decision.
Yeah. Well, the other night I was in Queenstown. I'd been down having dinner with a friend, and went to the bus stop to go up to my other friend's place, and looked at the timetable when it was going to be half an hour, and I thought, I can either walk to her place or I can wait half an hour. And then I saw this car go past, and I went, nah, I'll get an Uber.
I was almoys thinking hitchhike.
So it's kind of just there's always options. Yeah, I mean, I could have gone into a shop and waited, or not a shop, but a bar and waited. And,
but there's always options. Just whichever one you're most comfortable with.
Exactly.
Have your kids found your passion for travel as well?
Yeah, I think my daughter's quite well. Probably, I think. Yeah, I'm just not sure how their travel will look. I think hers will be more going overseas and working overseas. My son might be more work here and then do trips away. They definitely like travel. As a family, we've done a lot of travel, so they definitely enjoy it. Yeah.
Do you still tend to go traveling with others, or do you just find people once you get over there?
At the moment, I tend to. So since I wrote the book, I've actually separated from my husband. So I now travel solo for a different reason. Before it was to have a bit of me time, and now it's out of necessity. But there are people around, lots of friends and family who say, actually, next time you're going somewhere, let me know, I'll come with you. But I actually do like to travel solo. So I'm sort of thinking I might say to someone, hey, I'm going to Vietnam. I'm going for, say, 3 weeks or something. But if you want to come, but I still need my solo time. So just probably putting it up front. But I also find it really easy to meet people when I'm traveling. And being a solo person, you're not a threat to anyone. You kind of, are quite happy to talk to someone who's by themselves. So, yeah.
Had you expected that when you did first start traveling by yourself?
No, I don't think I did, actually. I thought, I thought it would be really hard. But, I mean, I can talk to anyone. And you can get your sense of socialness, talking to someone at the post office or at a cafe. You tend to talk a bit more to the waitress, or you actually have a bit of a conversation, and I think it's respectful to say, have you worked here long? Is this your hometown? And what's your favourite thing to do? And I think they quite like the fact that someone's actually not just saying, I'll have a coffee, please. There's a bit more to it. So, and I don't kind of need, I'm kind of an introvert that knows how to be an extrovert if I need to be. So I quite like having quiet time to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. Making it so that it can go both ways, be very active or more toned it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing more of New Zealand, and you've put a little bit of it in your book as well. And I think I'm hitting up some of the same places.
Yes.
Unintentionally, but there we go.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll definitely keep an eye on what you get up to from here.
Cool. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
I had an early morning start departing the Gold Coast for Queenstown this morning, but I feel so energised after meeting with Katherine. It's always so great meeting with like-minded travellers and to be reminded how powerful travelling can be. However it suits you best, use your travel style wisely. If you feel you could go lighter and more daringly, have a read of Katherine's book titled Dare to Travel Solo and check out her blog on the5kilotraveller.com. Happy travels!